Hi there, and welcome to our Wheel and Anchor webinar on the best Christmas markets of Europe trip. This is a program that I've put together which covers cities and towns in 4 different countries, all of which have incredible Christmas markets. And we're going to take a look at all of those in this webinar. You're going to find out what this itinerary entails. All of the amazing Christmas traditions that are in these different spots. If you are a regular visitor to Wheel and Anchor, then you can skip the next bit, the introduction, by scrolling down on the YouTube page, and you'll find the chapters below, and you can skip ahead to our day-by-day itinerary. Before we get into that, though, for those of you who are new, I'd just like to explain a little bit about who we are here at Wheel and Anchor, because we are a unique travel community and we bring together passionate explorers from all across Canada. We do have a handful of members that come from other countries as well, typically referrals of other members, but we are not just a tour company because we're actually a kind of a collective of curious minds, and we're united in our love to discover and immerse ourselves in cultures around the world. And we're sort of built on this shared desire to learn, to understand, to appreciate the tapestry, if you will, of the world's nations, the cultures, and the traditions that we find all across this amazing planet. Our vision here is to create a world where travel kind of breaks down barriers and builds lasting connections. And our programs are designed to offer transformative experiences that go beyond the typical tour itinerary. We encourage our members to become truly well traveled and well connected. And what do we mean when we say that? Well, for us, being well traveled is about more than checking items off a bucket list. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with having a bucket list. We as travelers, we all have them in some shape or form. But it's really about embracing curiosity and a lifelong learning mindset. Our experiences are created to challenge our perspectives, to allow us to engage with local cultures and develop a more nuanced understanding of global issues. In the course of all that as well, we want to cultivate empathy, adaptability, and open mindedness throughout all of our journeys. And when we talk about being well connected, it's about creating meaningful relationships within our community and beyond. We are, as I mentioned, we're a group of people from all across Canada. Our network is meant to be sort of a bunch of like-minded explorers who inspire and enrich each other. You know what it's like coming back from a trip with people who you've traveled with. You chat about these experiences, what you've learned, what's inspired you. Maybe it's the politics or the traditions, or something that's done better than at home or not done as well as at home. It's all of those sort of shared experiences, and by having profound connections with the people that we encounter, the people that we travel with, we go beyond those sort of surface level interactions. So our trips, in a nutshell, are designed to help you build a network of global friendships and also create a sense of global citizenship. Accomplishing all of this, of course, is a lofty goal. And so I just want to briefly introduce the core team members who make it all happen. And when I say core team members, we have a whole bunch of inspired and very professional individuals who are both in Canada and in other parts around the world that help us put all of this together. This team is led by myself. My name is Gordon Drager. I'm the founder of Wheel and Anchor. I'm the curator of all of the trips that we have here, and I'm the person with whom the buck stops, as it were. But the person perhaps most important to you will be our senior trip specialist, Paula Zarnik. Paula has herself been involved in travel for pretty much all of her career, and she is also a passionate traveler and is there to make sure that any questions that you have are answered, that you get the information you need in order to consider joining us either on this trip to the Christmas markets of Europe or perhaps on another trip. And our agenda today is quite simple. You are someone who, as the caption states here, maybe you're looking for a new way to shop for Christmas. Or let's face it, this trip is about more than just shopping. Although, if that is on your agenda, I think you can't do better than the Christmas markets of Europe. But it's about understanding the traditions and also getting an insight in some of these cities that you might not otherwise think about visiting. We start in Frankfurt, of course, which is often only a gateway point for many people, but it's a wonderful city in itself. So I'm going to take you on a digital journey today. We're going to go exploring these places in a little bit more depth, with the goal of having you understand what the Christmas markets are all about and specifically what this itinerary entails. As I always like to do, we're going to start with the map of the region so you get a sense of where we're going. We're talking about Central Europe. Now, of course, there's Christmas markets in all parts of Europe, up in Scandinavia and the Baltic countries, down in Southern Europe. But we're talking about, I think, some of the most traditional ones, and I might get some arguments from those in other parts of Europe. We're going to start in Frankfurt. It's a great place to start, partly because we can fly in directly from many points in Canada. We're going to spend a couple of nights there, right downtown in that city's market, which is one of the oldest in Europe. We're going to head up to by train to Dusseldorf, where we're going to spend a few nights and visit the Christmas markets there and in the adjacent city of Cologne. We're going to continue on over to Belgium, stopping in Brussels, but staying overnight in Ghent. Again, a city you've heard of. You probably heard of the Treaty of Ghent, but not a lot of people have been there before. It's a magical place, and we'll be visiting markets there as well as in Bruges on the English Channel. We're then going to fly down for the last part of our trip to Vienna, Austria, where we will visit some magical Christmas markets. The city has a famous one at the city hall, but other ones in other districts of town. And we're also going to hop over the border to Bratislava, the capital of Slovakia, to visit the Christmas market there. So let's jump right in and see what these Christmas markets are all about as I cover our day-to-day itinerary. As I mentioned at the outstart, we're starting in Frankfurt, and there's a method to that madness, if you will. And it's funny because when we think of Frankfurt, we often just think about that giant airport that is one of the primary hubs for air transportation in Europe. But Frankfurt offers a lot more. Again, it's very convenient. You can fly here directly, of course, from Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, Vancouver, which makes it a very convenient way to start. But there's more to it than just that. Now, Frankfurt, of course, is one of Europe's and certainly one of Germany's most important commercial hubs. And you'll notice that when you fly in or when you're driving from the airport downtown, all of the skyscrapers, tall buildings you could mistaken yourself for being in a city in North America. But when you get a layer beneath that, you'll find a beautiful old town centered around an area called Römerberg, where we are going to be staying and which is the home to these incredible Christmas markets. So this is a great first stop, a great introduction to the tradition of Christmas markets in Germany. And although we don't undertake a lot on the first day, because of course everybody's usually a little tired from the jet lag from an overnight flight, but we will certainly get out and have our first taste, our first sight of Christmas markets, and you'll get a sense of what they are all about. On our first full day in Frankfurt, we'll set out in the morning on a walking tour with a local guide that will help us understand and learn a little bit more about this fascinating, this very contrasting city. And in the afternoon, it'll be time to hit the Christmas markets. Our walking tour is going to focus predominantly on the old city, but it'll give those who are interested in, particularly in architecture, a chance to compare the old and the new. We'll see some amazing and interesting sites like the Goethe House, of course, the famous author Goethe, who's known around the world and whose works have been translated into so many languages. We'll cross the Eiserner Steg, the iron bridge that goes across the river. And as we get into the markets in the afternoon after lunch, we'll start to uncover again what makes these a little bit special. Of course, there's lots of live music, local food and drink, and I emphasize the drink. Obviously, there's a lot of emphasis on alcoholic beverages here, like mulled wine, locally known as Glühwein. You might find some hunter's tea, agate, but there are also lots of things to enjoy for those who aren't as partial to alcoholic beverages. All in all, we'll just make sure that you get a good sampling of some of the wares. They're known particularly for their Bettmännchen, the marzipan cookies. Personally, I'm a marzipan lover. And the little Frankfurter, right? We know Frankfurter, we think of as hot dogs, but I can tell you they're one heck of a lot better when you're sampling the true German Frankfurter than the ones that you find here at home in the grocery stores. After a restful second night in Frankfurt, we're going to make our way over to the railway station and hop on one of those famous German trains for the an hour and a half journey up to Dusseldorf. Once we arrive into Dusseldorf's main station, we'll be whisked off to our hotel, drop our luggage, and head straight out to explore a bit of the city. Now, like Frankfurt, Dusseldorf is, for many people, better known as sort of a commercial center. It has massive trade shows, one of the largest exposition complexes in Europe. But of course, this is not why we're visiting the city. This will be the Christmas market fanatics' wet dream, if I can say it that way. While Frankfurt is huge, what differentiates Dusseldorf's Christmas market is the fact that it actually consists of numerous different themed markets on different squares in different parts of the city. For example, there's the Handwerkermarkt, which is the artisans market that has all kinds of neat handmade crafts. They blow glass, they do wood carving and on lathes and so on. This is considered to be one of the more romantic markets in Dusseldorf. There's the Altstadtmarkt, the old town market. Invariably here, you're going to get the Dusseldorf's famous Alt beer or old beer. Quite delicious, although I'm not a huge beer fanatic myself. They've got a fairy tale market that is themed around the Grimm fairy tales with something like 15,000 LED lights, which create an absolutely magical atmosphere around the city. There's a Little Angels market that has where all the stalls have little golden angels on top of the roofs. So many different things to explore that the 3 nights we're there is going to hardly seem enough, considering that we're going to be visiting Cologne the next day. So if you don't indulge too much the night before of the Glühwein or the Altbier that I was talking about, we will head down not too early in the morning for a quick rail journey down to another stupendous city, Cologne. What's interesting about Cologne is that one of the city's main attraction will become immediately visible as our train pulls into the Cologne Hauptbahnhof or main railway station. The famous Kölner Dom, the Cologne Cathedral, a massive, again, the largest I think in all of Germany, and immediately adjacent is this spectacular Christmas market that has probably the best backdrop that might rival the Christmas market in Vienna with the city hall in the background, but certainly the Cologne Cathedral has is a terrific spot for which to take pictures, much like you see in the image here of this beautiful market. The sparkling lights, like in Frankfurt and Dusseldorf. Lots of stalls featuring handmade goods. You'll find different things here than you did in Frankfurt and Dusseldorf. So it'll be a great chance, and you don't have to wander too far from the railway station to see most of what the Christmas market in Cologne is all about. We'll have lunch here at the market, and then we'll leave you to your own devices for the afternoon. And because it's such a short ride, your ticket will allow you to sort of go back to to Dusseldorf at your leisure, so you can spend more time, enjoy the evening, the colorful lights, before packing it in for the evening. Back in Dusseldorf, we'll have a whole day free to take in some of those markets that we missed on our first day here. On this day, you'll have the whole day to explore more of the different themed markets in Dusseldorf. Now, You probably won't have had a chance to visit all the markets. By this point, we'll have visited several. So you might be a bit marketed out, and therefore, if you're looking for something else to do beyond the markets, you might want to take a stroll down to the Media Harbor, which has some very interesting and unique architecture by our own Frank Gehry. These sort of odd, twisted buildings. Very cool place, regardless of the time of year. You could also take a stroll down Dusseldorf's most famous boulevard, the Königsallee, otherwise locally known as Kö, which has where all the fancy boutiques are. But what I like to do is head up that tower that you see here, pictured the Rheinturm, the Rhine Tower. Now it's no CN Tower, but still at 240 meters with an amazing observation platform. You get a great view looking out over the city, all those different Christmas markets. So no matter what, you certainly won't be bored chilling out and having a day wandering around Dusseldorf. So after 3 nights, we will pack up again and head this time into neighboring Belgium, with our destination being Ghent. And we're going to be traveling once again by train. So this is a good heads up because although there's probably lots of shopping that you had in mind, you will have to bring your luggage along with you. Although I do have some tips for those who don't want to lug everything from one place to the next. But before we even get to Ghent, we're actually going to stop. Our train is going to take us to Brussels, of course, the capital, not only of Belgium, but of course, the European Union. So we'll find a place to stow our luggage for the afternoon. We'll go and have lunch, and we'll explore some of Brussels' most famous spots, specifically Grand Place, the main square, as well as the Winter Wonders Market at Place Sainte Catherine, which is just a 10-minute walk away from the main train station and the Grand Place. Brussels, again, a very diverse city, particularly since it has been the headquarters of the European Union. And so we'll have a few hours to take in what this city is all about and have a glimpse of its Christmas markets as well before we head off to Ghent, arriving in the late afternoon or early evening. Our agenda today, after we've had a good night's sleep, will be, first of all, to explore a little bit about this city that, once again, we've heard of, we might not have visited. And then, once again, it'll be back to the markets in the afternoon. A walking tour of Ghent in the morning will, with our local guide, will have us explore the rich history. The city actually dates back to the year 630, when a gentleman, a Saint Amadus, picked the spot where the two rivers Lys and Scheldt meet. And the spot where it meets is called Ganda, which will explain a little bit of the origin of the name of Ghent, which is pronounced Gand in French, and in the native language of this part of Belgium, which is Flemish, similar to Dutch, it's pronounced Gent. Now, there's, of course, a lot of things that Belgium is famous for. You've certainly heard of Belgian truffles or Belgian waffles, and maybe not heard of, but certainly by the time you get there, you will have experienced Belgian French fries, which I think are the best in the world. The Christmas markets here, once again, will give us a little bit of a taste as to how Belgium does Christmas, the similarities and yet all the differences to those ones that we will have experienced in Germany. Once again, we're going to make a little side trip from Ghent. The beautiful thing about a small country like Belgium is that everything is very close by. Our destination will be Bruges, a small city that's about 30 minutes away by train. When you arrive into the city, it will feel like stepping back in town. The city center of Bruges is a designated UNESCO World Heritage Site, and the many canals which crisscross the old town often give it the moniker the Venice of the North. I've heard that one before, but I think here in Bruges, it really does ring true. Our local guide will show us around and we'll admire some of the amazing medieval and Gothic architecture that make up the buildings around this city. And of course, we'll visit two of the Christmas markets. One, the traditional, the largest one at the so-called Grote Markt, the main square of town. But the one that I think is more interesting here is called the Simon Stevensplein. It's a much smaller, more how should we say, romantic or cozy market. The Christmas trees are all lined up in rows, perpendicular to the stalls. It really has an amazing charm, and often you'll find in these smaller markets that the type of wares that you'll find are what they call short chain products, which means it's producers themselves that come in with their handicrafts or with their handmade baked goods and all those tasty things. So this is one of the things that makes the market in Bruges so special. So we'll spend the remainder of the day, and of course, as usual, you'll have the freedom to either head back with us to Ghent and to our hotel, or you can hang around for a dinner and hop on the train on your own and enjoy some of the beautiful evening hours in Bruges. Back in Ghent, you'll have the day at leisure either to explore the city or to head back and do a little more shopping at those Christmas markets. Ghent is famous for a lot of things, and one of them that is particularly important for Canadians is the fact that the Treaty of Ghent was signed here. And in case you forgot your high school history, that is the peace treaty that ended the War of 1812 between the U.S. and Canada. Well, of course, it was then Britain. And so one of the things, if you are a history buff, that you might do is go out and see if you can find the exact location where the treaty was signed. It's not common knowledge, but they say that a few of the locals will know where that happened. We bid farewell to Belgium and make our way to the airport in Brussels, where we're going to hop on our flight heading to the last stop, the grand finale, if you will, of our Christmas markets tour, Vienna, the capital of Austria. We saved the best for last, if you will. And of course, Vienna is near and dear to my heart. I've been there countless times. I have family originating from there. And I've also had the pleasure of visiting the Christmas markets more than once. I say again in plural because there are in Vienna, like in many other cities, a multitude of markets to choose from. The most famous one being the one that you see in the picture here in front of the city hall. If Many of our members, maybe you may have been to Vienna once before. I know it's a popular stop on the river cruises down the Danube. And so if you haven't been, there'll be lots of things that you can take in and see on your own. You might head to the classics like St. Stephen's Cathedral in the heart of the city or the Imperial Palace. If you've been to Vienna before, you may go a little further afield out to Schönbrunn Palace, or you might want to just roam the streets of downtown and enjoy all that Vienna has to offer. Of course, the Christmas market itself will definitely be on display, and we'll head there together and take in the Glühwein, the delicious Austrian treats, and this beautiful setting in front of the city hall. On this day, we'll leave the morning at leisure, but we'll head out around midday for some fun activities in the afternoon and evening. You may have thought you had your fill of delicious food by this point, but what we'll do in the afternoon is head out on a gastronomic tour of the city that will give us a little bit of insight into some of the influences of the local culinary scene, which, of course, were brought to Vienna by groups from different parts of Europe and even further afield. So that it will be a lot of fun. We'll undoubtedly end up at one of Vienna's fabled coffee houses where we can learn a little bit about the different ways that coffee is served in Vienna. An eye opener for those who perhaps are otherwise only used to drinking Starbucks or Tim Hortons coffee. In the evening, we will attend a musical event. Vienna, obviously famous for music with its history of Mozart and Strauss and other composers. And so we will enjoy a little bit of the scene that the city is so famous for. I'll have a chance to visit one more country by heading for a last train ride from the main station of Vienna for the short 1 hour trip to Bratislava, capital of Slovakia. Sitting on the banks of the Danube River, Bratislava is another one of those cities that tends to fall off most travelers' radar screens. Once we arrive, we'll have a sightseeing tour with our local guide for a couple hours in the morning that will take us around some of the city's iconic sites. It's amazing how much this city has transformed since Slovakia exited the Soviet Republic, as all of Eastern Europe at the end of the 1980s. And the old town of Bratislava is perhaps the best spectacle of it all. So we'll have a lovely lunch in town and then have a chance for one more Christmas market. And this time learning a little bit about the Slovak influence. And so you'll see a whole different set of crafts and things to eat. Some of them will be similar, no doubt, to those found in Vienna. But one of the specialties that I particularly like is called turtlenik. We know it as funnel cake. They have, in the meantime, opened up shops in Canada that serve it. But I can tell you, having the traditionally prepared one over an old open fire, the way that they've always done it in Slovakia, is certainly the best way to enjoy this delicious treat. So once again, you will be at leisure for the rest of the afternoon, either heading back with the group to Vienna or perhaps spending a little extra time to enjoy dinner in Slovakia as the train returns back every hour. You'll have one more day in Vienna to take in the city and perhaps see some sights that you hadn't seen before, or have one last chance to shop at those Christmas markets. By this time, you'll have had a better feel from the city. And so, whether you want to search out one of the other Christmas markets that is in perhaps one of the outlying neighborhoods, again, they have a multitude of markets beyond the main one at City Hall Square. There's also other concerts and fantastic winter festivals and events happening all the time that one can indulge in. Regardless of all that, we will get together and have one final dinner together, something that will certainly leave a lasting impression of our trip around the Christmas markets of Europe. As always, we'll head out on our individual transfers from Vienna to either continue our journey or probably stuffed with lots of gifts, unique things that we've picked up along the way for friends and family back home. You can find out everything else you need to know about this trip, the dates, the pricing, by visiting our website and downloading our trip itinerary, which has a complete summary of all of the things that we're going to be visiting during these 2 weeks at the Christmas markets of Germany, Belgium, and Austria. Also, please check the trip-specific reference guide. This is our version of a FAQ, which will have answers to many of the logistical questions you might have about participating in this trip. If there's any other information that you need, or if you'd just like to jump in and join us for this trip, then drop us a note by email at the contact shown here, or of course, you're welcome to give us a call, and we'd be delighted to have you join us on this amazing trip. Thanks very much for watching. You can see all of our trip webinars as they come out by subscribing to our YouTube channel if you wish. Otherwise, if you have anything to say about this webinar or about our webinars in general, I welcome any comments in the block box below. So once again, please consider coming along on our best Christmas markets of Europe trip, and we'll see you on another webinar.